summer, Johnny Morris drove through France, Switzerland, and Italy and crossed the Adriatic to Greece to consult the Delphic Oracle. He presents now an edited version of his adventures and impressions on the road to Delphi.
It was the map that did it. If it hadn't been for the map, we'd never have done it. But things look so easy on a map. The four of us agreed that it was a piece of cake. There was Tom Gillingham. Well, there's no reason why we shouldn't do it. Tubby Foster. No, it looks simple enough. Jack Leverett. Well, all we've got to do is go. And me. Well, let's go. That's our route on the map. To drive from Bournemouth to Greece to the Oracle at Delphi. The first hop takes no time at all. We drive our motorcar to Herne Airport, fly across the Channel to Cherbourg. At this rate, we'll be in Paris in time for dinner. And we swing out into the main road for Paris. Tubby Foster driving on the right-hand side of the road. We turn on the car radio. Ah, France. The French larks are gargling, the French sheep are buying, and the fields are splattered with poppies. It's all so delightfully French. Just listen to that lark. You can tell a French lark anywhere. And those French sheep, unmistakable. An English sheep goes baa. A French one definitely baa. Listen to them. Baa, 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 baa. Ah, France, Normandy. Look at those two fine Norman peasants passing the time of day. I wonder what sort of French accent they have here. I suppose they speak a sort of rural Wiltshire French. Ah, bonjour, Henri, mon ami. Comment allez-vous ce jour, donc? Oh, parbow, Bercy, Georges, parbow. They bar fab elder et un peu middling. Oh, elder un peu middling. Hey, ah. C'est la vie, Henri, c'est la vie. Ah, c'est la vie, Georges. C'est la vie. Ah, et comment allons vos pommes de terre, donc, Henri? Les pommes de terre, Georges, sont même chez de ma femme Hilda, Midland. Ah, c'est la vie, Henri, c'est la vie. C'est la vie, Georges, c'est la vie. Bonjour. Bonjour. Fortunately, the road to Paris is a first-class road. And about 30 miles from the capital, it seems to sense that it's going somewhere important and beautiful. It swells proudly into a smooth, untroubled dual carriageway. Tiny trivial crossroads fly overhead or burrow underneath. Our speed, 70, 80 miles an hour. We can't lose momentum. With a great effort, we manage to pull away from the racetrack, and now where are we? In the Place de la Concorde. So this is the Place de la Concorde. It's an enormous, beautiful, and terrifying place. There seem to be about 2,000 acres of it. Gushing fountains, posing, prancing statues, and stampeding herds of galloping cars. It's the most exhilarating place to take a motor car. Thousands of Parisians take their motor cars there for exercise every day. We go hurtling to the other side of the square. There's no messing about, no signalling, no tooting hooters. It's forbidden to toot the hooter now in Paris. Just rip-roaring, hell-for-leather driving. There's no irritation because you're getting somewhere. You may be trapped in the wrong pack and going the wrong way, but you're getting somewhere. We get as far as the Champs-Élysées, and a gendarme turns us into a side street. What's the matter? We can't go up the Champs-Élysées? Why? A procession. What procession? Who? General de Gaulle is driving up the Champs-Élysées in half an hour. What a bit of luck. We get out and walk. Look, here come 500 gendarmes to line the route. Of course, the Champs-Élysées was simply built for processions, a tremendous, beautiful avenue, a real conquering hero's strutting ground. You really feel a bit of a hero walking along the Champs-Élysées. These gendarmes are dabsters on the whistle. Is he whistling at me? Get on the pavement. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, the general shouldn't be long now. And with the great crowds, we wait and wait and wait. And then a rather curious thing happens. An inspector of the gendarmerie looks at his watch, gives the signal, and the hundreds of gendarmes lining the route turn right and march away. The crowd can't understand it. What's happened? Where's the general? And then the word goes around that the general has gone by another route. It's obvious that this was the decoy route. They knew he wasn't coming this way all the time. It's not nice to be used as a decoy. We feel a bit put out. Well, that's that. Paris certainly takes a lot of knowing, and we haven't time to really find out. Just time to gaze from the Eiffel Tower at the silent river sliding around the blue-grey roofs. Just time to stroll through the sun-speckled boulevards, and time to wander a while in Montmartre. There's a square in Montmartre that I still can't believe is true. It's like one of those cheap reviews that open with a phony Parisian scene. Up goes the curtain. The scene, a square, and in the background, cafes, with waiters skiddling about with bottles on trays. In the foreground, lots of actors dressed up as artists, with beards, big bows, and sandals, painting in the open. Enter a very unwholesome-looking bunch of bohemians. You can see at a glance that they know that nobody understands them. They slummock about on the benches and start making maudlin love to one another. Not very nice to watch because they're all so ugly and dirty, and they don't seem to be enjoying it very much. A nasty tangle of greasy hair, smoky beards, and sniffy, sour pullovers. And look at those big black toenails lying doggo in their dusty open-work sandals. Now what's going on? Enter tourists from the left, American, German, and English. We're in the English lot. It's just like being in a cockeyed review. We wander around the artists at work. Of course they're all acting. Their little daubs are childish. Now, this chap here, he's got a nice face, but he'd make a fair chartered accountant. But he's acting being an artist, and he's painted a sort of balance sheet. Lines up and down and crisscross. Looks as though he's had a rotten year. This chap here, a plumber, obviously. All pipes and bends and elbows. That man, a butcher, just dabs of blood. That man, difficult to say, he hasn't started yet. He can't think of anything to do. And there's another lot over there, painting tourists' portraits. You can have your portrait done while you wait. You've got a pretty long wait. There's one poor unfortunate woman sitting in a chair having her picture done. We all stand around and gawp. The artist has just started. He's got 2 eye sockets down on the paper. Nothing else. He's deciding what to do next. We go away, have lunch, and come back. He's still working on the portrait. He's filled in one eye socket with an eye slightly off beam, and the other socket is still hollow. It's going to take him 6 weeks. He keeps tapping and pawing away at the lonely staring eye, just like a cat trying to coax a dead bird to life for a bit more sport. The woman sits there with a sort of sacred look on her face. She's already seeing this picture immortalized in an illustrated biography, portrait of Mrs. Thromboyd, who gave great encouragement to the artist as a young man. It's appalling. He can't draw. The whole place is full of frauds, but very colourful frauds. Look, let's come back tomorrow and see if he's got the other eye in, shall we? Oh, no, we won't have time. Look. Tubby Foster takes the map out of his pocket. You ought to get cracking now. Oh, no, not that map again. We've only just been introduced to Paris. This wonderful, beautiful, exciting Paris. I know, but look at the map. Yes, the map, the map. As we drive, the mountains begin to heap one on top of the other in front of us. A great jagged barrier of hammered granite, the Alps. We'll never get over that lot. Well, we don't have to. Tonight, we stay in Lucerne. We never expected it to be so incredibly beautiful. Well, when you hear people raving about Switzerland and you've never been there, you say, oh, they're exaggerating. It can't be all that marvelous. And if you say to them, well, go on, tell me, why is it so wonderful? And they say, oh, I don't know, the mountains and the lakes and, I don't know, you must go. Yes, you must go. Look at that fantastic Lake Lucerne, lying flat and ragged amongst the giant jigsaw mountains. It looks as though someone has lifted one enormous piece out of the mountain puzzle and it's filled with water. See, it spills out at the end there into a powerful river, flowing through the lovely old town, slipping around the slimy wooden piers of the rickety timber bridges. We wander along the spruce, glittery streets. Everything is so scrupulously clean. Not a tatter of litter, a smear of dirt, or a puff of dust. Even our little doggy friends seem to have undergone a voluntary training scheme. The shops are absolutely immaculate. There's a notice in that window. What's it say? Here you are sure to find the gift for which you are looking. For what are we looking that we are sure to find? The window is alive with cuckoo clocks, all clacking and cooking away. It has been said of the Swiss that after hundreds of years of civilization, they've only produced the cuckoo clock. Aha! But the Swiss long ago worked things out. Imagine living in Switzerland by the placid waters, in the shadow of the towering Alps, in this magnificent, terrific landscape. You work at this and that, look after the cows, do a bit of fretwork in the evening. Yes, but fretwork is a fiddling little craft. What about your art, your thoughts, you, yourself, you? What about your precious self-expression? Well, you don't have any. You don't have any in this massive cathedral country. Any bit of self-expression that you happen to express just shrivels by comparison. You're nothing much because everything's a million times bigger and better than you. So you gradually forget about you. You devote yourself to an industrious, honest, and super clean life. And the fretwork piles up in the front room, and you're very happy. Dull, do you think? Still, the Swiss have got lots of cuckoo clocks. What have we got? The next morning, we decide to cross the Alps and drive out of Lucerne around the lovely lake. The mountains are beginning to steam in the sun. The air is humid and hot. We're all perspiring. It's the most thrilling drive. Look at the fierce, scalding streams shooting out of the mountainside, hurtling down into the craggy valley to make a smashing, hurtling river. Look, there's our road ahead, winding up and up. It's all so brutally powerful and blissfully peaceful. Listen. One little church bell tolling away. It sounds spiraling on and on forever. You can almost see the sound throbbing along the tops of the mountains. The whole valley is a bell, a beautiful, pure, clear bell. And listen, there's another bell. Bong, bang, bang, bong, bang, bong, bong. It's those cows. They're wearing bells as big as buckets. Fancy having that hanging around your neck all day long. Oh, it's enough to drive you up the Jungfrau. Even when you're sitting still, just chewing the tough cud, every time your teeth grind, The bell rings. Look, there's a dog cart. It's a dear little turnout. A smart Swiss dog hurrying along with a milk churn in his little wooden cart. When dogs are given something to do, they get wonderfully proud. Look at him, head in the air, stepping it out. He might be towing the Mayor of Geneva. And that night, we eat a gargantuan meal at our hotel at Andermatt. But then, all Swiss meals are hefty, ponderous affairs, and we eat and eat far into the starry night. You just can't help it in Switzerland. And the next day, we drive up into the frightening clouds that haunt the St. Gothard Pass. We've got a job to see. The fog is dense and grey. The rain falls out of it in a mysterious, savage way. It's midsummer, but it's like the middle of the winter. Look, there are the ghosts of winter. Enormous white hunks of snow, standing thick and stubborn by the roadside. And so we creep through the St. Gothard Pass and wind down and down in the fog and rain. And we know that we've left behind us a rare and lovely country. We can already smell a different world. Yes, even through the fog we can see the houses are not a ship shape, and there's a different look on the faces that slip past the windows. And we drive on through Lugano and into Italy. Can that be Venice straight ahead? It can't be far away. It looks like Wolverhampton. Great concrete water coolers gasping at the sky. Vigorous chimneys pumping out thunder clouds of bad breath, and the whole place scrawled over with a prickly bramble of pylons and wires. It can't be Venice. It isn't. Venice is just out there at the end of the pier. That's just what it's like, a great pier at the seaside. Here we are on the mainland in a busy industrial hugger-mugger. There's the long 5-mile pier, and at the end, slopping in the water, the grand romantic pavilion of Venice. We go skimming down the pier, and this is as far as we can go. Well, now what do? We're all a little worried. Well, where can we leave the car? You can't take a car into Venice, you know. No, I know. What are we going to do? Where are we going to stay? I mean, I don't want to roll all over Venice looking for bed and breakfast. Please, can I help you? Oh, a policeman. Well, there's so much we want to know. It's a job to know where to start. Well, you see, we were sort of traveling about, and what with one thing and another, it's a bit different. You want to stay in Venice, eh? That's right. For 1 night, 2 nights, 3 nights? Oh, for 2 nights. Put your car in that garage there. Book your hotel there. Oh, thank you very much. Please don't mention it. I beg your pardon? Please don't mention it. All right, I won't. I must say it's all extremely efficient. We park the car in an enormous 8-story concrete car warren, book an hotel at the information center, and catch the water bus for St. Mark's Square. It's an incredible boat ride. We push away from the pier, an ordinary little pier in an ordinary little canal. Might be anywhere on the canal around the back of Regent's Park. Then we turn a corner and get the biggest shock of our lives. Don't forget, we've just emerged from behind a forest of factory chimneys. For suddenly, there is Venice. The Venice that Canaletto and Guardi painted, just as they painted it. It hasn't changed. It's a weird sensation, floating through an unbelievable picture that you've known by heart since childhood. We had a picture of Venice pasted on a big screen when we were children. It was next to a Louis Wain cat with a bib and tucker on, eating a pot of what was labelled mouse cream. A cat with a pot of mouse cream was, of course, a bit of make-believe. So was this place Venice, a very extravagant bit of make-believe. And now we're sailing through it. Look at the gondolas, their battle-axe heads rearing out of the water. Dozens and dozens of them swimming around like monstrous cormorants. The gondoliers in striped shirts and straw hats with ribbons on, shoving their black, quaint craft through the choppy water. The delicate marble palaces grouped side by side. The gay striped poles rising sideways out of their quivering reflections. This is the picture on the old screen. It hasn't changed. Oh, yes, it has. There's a set of traffic lights at the cross canals. It's shining green for us. We go over. There's a small flotilla of craft in a side canal waiting to come out. There go the lights. Here they come, like ducks scrabbling for a gobbet of bread. This must be the rush hour. It is. We land at St. Mark's Square and struggle along with our awkward luggage. The square is alive with the most fascinating collection of people, all just strolling around. French priests, Brazilian soldiers, Italian sailors, German nuns, Swiss monks, Corsican bandits, Sicilian spivs, and a lady artist from Akhtamahti in a tartan skirt. Listen, the band has started playing. Colonel Bogey. There's a rattle like someone flipping through the pages of a tremendous floppy book, and the air is splattered with smacking pigeons. The sun gets freckles and splutters. The pigeons glide and flutter back down again. The ground trembles with pigeons. Look, when someone throws a handful of corn, they all scoot towards it, like grey iron filings to a magnet. We can't find our hotel. That's twice we've been round the square. And eventually we find it, up a little alleyway, beside a tiny black canal.
I say, can you smell anything?
No, can you?
Well, yes.
What is it, do you think?
It's the canal.
I'm afraid it is. I so hope that it wasn't. Well, it's one of the popular ways of dismissing Venice nowadays. Venice, my dear, the pong. Phew. Well, there is a pong. It's a pong that you can't forget. It hangs in the nostrils of the memory. But I will say this for it, it moves around and so you don't get obsessed by it. But it's all the more noticeable when you happen to be gazing at the beautiful tower of a church and... Phew, there it is. Or leaning on a tiny bridge, watching a gondola drift by in the evening. The gondolier gently easing it along because he's taking two lovers for a romantic dream glide around the island. You can almost hear the music. The most perfect setting in the world for love's young, middle-aged old dreams. The girl has dreamt about this for years, and at last this is it. Pity about those four men leering from the bridge, though. She hadn't thought of an audience. There are people watching all over the place. Poor girl, she imagined that just about by the bridge here, she and Alistair would go into a mad, gulping embrace. Not a hope. This tunnel of love is no proper tunnel. And it's very difficult to sit in a gondola and look natural. Well, there's a terrible temptation to start acting. Well, you've seen so many film stars floating around in gondolas, acting out the perfect romantic night, but they've always had a script to work to.
Brenda, darling, you do realize, don't you, that the wise old men of the past built Venice entirely for you?
Alistair, you're being ridiculous.
I feel ridiculous, inadequate, helpless when I'm beside you, Brenda.
You're such a child. That's how it should go. But it doesn't. Well, Alistair's sitting there bolt upright. He's not going to start any messing about in full view. Brenda goes straight into page 4 of her script. Alistair, look at those little statues up there. Aren't they lovely? She suddenly got the pong. I see her nostrils bulge and fall. and she darts a glance at Alistair. Alistair's got it too, and starts looking around the gondola to see what it is. Brenda bravely ploughs on with page 4. Aren't those window boxes simply heavenly? Here, she should just trail a hand in the water. She nearly does, but just stops in time. Had she done so, she would have shaken hands with the yellow claw of a chicken. And even if she'd missed that, there, close behind the claw, is a large, unidentified floating object. She gazes at it with horror as it limps by. I think she's identified it. And they sail stiffly, awkwardly away. We get just a day and a half in Venice and then start belting for the south. Well, we've got to be in Brindisi to catch the boat in a matter of days. And it's miles. Well, kilometers. We rattle through Ravenna, skim through Rimini. We curve through beautiful mountains, slide around with pale yellow rivers, past blazing fields of sunflowers, through red-hot infernos of tomatoes. The whole countryside bombards the atmosphere with color. The sky sops up the pigment. The air glows pink. Look, here come the great farm carts, one behind the other. Their great wheels rolling down the heavy red road. Listen. The cicadas, filing notches in the trees. Thousands and thousands of them rasping away at each other with parched, dry throats. They inject another dimension to the vivid scene. They make the heat seem hotter, the flowers brighter, the smell stronger, and the sky higher. They croak at us all the way to Brindisi. We catch the boat for the mainland of Greece, and we land at a little place called Igoumenitsa. Now, it's our intention to get to Delphi today. It's not a long haul, about 250 miles. But it's early, just after 8. We ought to be able to do it all right. Before we start, just a cup of coffee, All right, a quick one. We wander over to a little cafe on the quayside under the trees. The proprietor can't understand what we want. Coffee, you know, coffee. Cafe, to drink. An old man in a fluffy straw hat at the next table leans over. Excuse me, gentlemen, you are English? Yes, we are. I am very glad. I will help you. Some I would not help, but the English I will always help. I like very much the English. He's like some old woodcutter out of some old fairy story. He's going to grant us 3 wishes in a minute. Now, what do you wish for? You see? Coffee, please. Coffee? Is that all? Yes, thank you. He orders coffee. Now, where are you going? To Delphi. To Delphi. I have come from Athens with my lorry. It has taken me many days. I am on my way to the royal palace at Corfu with 2 pianos for the king. I am a piano tuner. It's just like a fairy story. The old piano tuner on his way to the royal palace with 2 pianos for the king. The road is very bad and very hot. It has taken me many days. When do you hope to be in Delphi? Oh, tonight. Oh, you will not be in Delphi tonight. Not tonight. It's a long, hard journey. He's talking like the Oracle. It's getting more like an old fairy story. But then we've left the 20th century far, far behind. We are journeying through a country that has hardly changed for thousands of years, where herds of crafty black goats go tippy-toe round the mountains, where the children go to work as soon as they can walk about, where storks sit high and awkward on their trickle of wickerwork, where golden eagles with arms outstretched shout out, "This whole land is mine from here to here," where the people are kind and courteous and eat meat just 3 times a year. We are right back in the past. We say goodbye to the kind and ancient piano tuner, thank him for his help, and go on our journey. Now, the old tuner told us that the road was bad, but we never expected it to be like this. It's an unbelievable road. It goes bounding up into the mountains and just doesn't give a damn. It's dotted with deep holes, littered with boulders. Look, where the mountain range have chiseled great gullies across the road. We roll and bump along at about the speed of a farm wagon. Mind you, they are making the road better in places, but where they're making it better, it's much worse. Well, they don't do things by halves as we do. They tackle the entire width of the road at once, and if anything wants to get by, well, it'll have to take pothole luck. You have to drive right through the roadworks. It's fantastic. And the farther we go, the worse it gets. Look, here's a herd of bulldozers pushing dirt and stones about all over the place. We just drive over the great heaps of rubble and rock. There is no other way. I imagine that the Sahara Desert is something like this. The old piano tuner was right. We won't get to Delphi tonight. We don't. We get as far as a place on the coast called Messolongi. Now, Lord Byron died in Messolongi. One quick look at the place and we see that it's not surprising. It's a sort of a swamp. A tiny town all in a heap in a bog. Still, there's nowhere else to stay. We find a sort of guest house in one of the narrow main streets. It's a real little museum piece. There's no front door on it, and we go into the flagstoned hall, up a creaking spiral staircase, and there, standing watching us on the landing, is the landlady. She's a charming lady, but unfortunately today we've caught her on the hop. We've caught her on the skip and the jump as well. She hasn't had time to do her hair yet. She hasn't had time to button up her dress either. It's open down the front. But she doesn't seem to care. She stands there, arms akimbo, pointing her large alabaster stomach at us. Room? She gives the old bare tum a thoughtful scratch. Yes, she can find something, no doubt. 2 double rooms. Well, what about this? A pale green distempered wall, clawed all over with brush marks. A filthy washstand, a couple of iron bedsteads with brown blankets bundled up at the bottom, and hanging from the ceiling, what's that? Ba, 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 ba. They always do that on the films when you see something nasty. Well, I've seen something nasty. Ba, 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 ba. A mosquito net. I'd quite forgotten that Greece is the most malarious country in Europe, especially in the low-lying and swampy areas. There's one now. The landlady thinks it's very funny, and she mimes a mosquito biting me. Yes, well, we'd better take it, hadn't we? We'll take it. The tariff is written up on the door. It's just about 7 and 6 a night for 2. Not outrageous, and we've got running water in the bedroom. It's a most peculiar arrangement. There's a small tin tank screwed on the wall. It's fitted with a tiny tap. You get a jug from the landlady, go to the main tap on the landing, fill it, bring it back, fill your little tin tank, turn on the tap, and running water. Well, it's running, isn't it? You can play like that for hours. That night, we turn in under the mosquito net. They're rather beautiful affairs, slender trumpets of muslin sweeping down from the ceiling and covering the bed. There's just a touch of a sleeping beauty about them. Tubby Foster looks strangely out of focus and mysterious underneath his misty muslin, as though he's already fading into his deep sleep. Shall I call you in 100 years? Yes, please, with a nice cup of tea. And next morning, when I wake, they've got me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mosquitoes have got through the net. It's the most frustrating business trying to swat mosquitoes underneath 20-odd yards of muslin. 5 or 6 swipes and you turn yourself into a sort of a chrysalis, wound, bound, and helpless in muslin. The only thing to do is wriggle out and leave them. And that morning, we leave the dear old swamps of Messalongi for Athens. Athens, as far as we can see, is now a fine modern city. The streets are straight and wide, the buildings new and neat, and we drive up to the Acropolis. It's another of those wonderful pictures that you've known by heart for so long and never really believed existed, and now there it is. Yes, that's it. There's the Parthenon, high and mighty on a rock, a beautiful, calm, marble temple. You must go, and linger there a while when the sun's going down. It's then that the high-flown, romantic posy girls like to wander amongst the ruins and commune alone. Bless their lovely little thoughts. Look, there's one there standing with her back to a fine-fluted column, her face turned bravely to the sun, her eyes closed, her blonde hair flowing loosely in the breeze. She's been there for 20 minutes. If you so much as said, "Good evening," she'd say, No, please don't talk now. I want this to be one of the rare and supreme moments of my life. I feel now nearer to beauty than I've ever felt before, nearer to real art than I had ever dreamed, nearer to the real truth than I had ever imagined. Well, that's what they look like. There are usually 3 or 4 about. Look, there's one, just finished her shift. She's going back thoughtfully to her hotel bedroom. I can tell by the look on her face that someone in England is going to get a highfalutin letter in a day or 2. Still, you can hardly blame them. The Parthenon is enough to carry anyone away. But not quite. There's a little too much reality going on around you. I know it can't be helped, and there are some of them, but the whole place is crawling with tourists from 20 different countries. And what's this charming notice say? It is improper to sing or make loud noise or to introduce animals in the Acropolis. Fido, I'm sorry, you won't be able to meet Rover after all. Come, let's to the Oracle. The Oracle at Delphi lies some 100 miles west of Athens. It's another of those incredible mountain drives, a good road that takes you everywhere to look at the scenery. We should be having a siesta, really. Well, the heat between midday and 4 o'clock is pretty intense, and everyone goes indoors in the shade to snooze. It's strange, driving through the mountain villages with no one about. Not a sign of life anywhere. The sun high and cruel overhead. Black and white villages, silent and still. Just a lean old dog following something he thought he smelt. And the storks clattering their beaks from the church tower. We travel 50 twisting miles and we haven't seen a soul. Oh, here's another village coming up. And what's this? A procession. A religious procession coming towards us. We draw in to let it go by. There are 3 poor, patched little choir boys walking in front, carrying fat, thick candles. Behind them, 3 black and bearded priests. Behind them, the entire village, scuffing silently along. Someone intoning. They come nearer. There are 4 men just behind the priests, carrying something low down. We suddenly all realize that it's a coffin. I can't take my eyes off it because it's a coffin with a glass lid. I see the little old shriveled face of the corpse wobble by. rest of the village rustle after it like a flock of great black rooks. And they're gone, and the village is empty, except for one old dog going off after the funeral, and a stork on a rooftop saying, "How sad life is." Greece is like that. It leaves you quiet and thoughtful. We are still fairly silent when we arrive at Delphi. Well, you can't miss the ruins. There they are. Yes, quite a mess, aren't they? Yes, but what a beautiful mess. There, on the slopes of the Parnassus, a great jumble of tumbled marble. And up there, all that remains of the temple of Apollo, a few proud pillars. It was in the temple of Apollo that the prophetess made her enigmatic utterances. We climb up to the temple. Now, somewhere here in the floor is supposed to be a hole. From the hole rose steam from a hot underground spring. The prophetess sat over this hole on a tripod. Well, that's what they say. And intoxicated by the heady vapors, she went off into a trance and foretold the future. The priests interpreted her pronouncements, and so for hundreds of years, until about the 3rd century A.D., the oracle was consulted and respected. Generally, the prophetess had to be a lady over 50, so the priests were always casting about, I imagine, for good fortune tellers. Perhaps they advertised. Wanted. Reliable prophetess. Must be over 50. Able execute long-range forecasts. No cards or tea leaves allowed. I wonder what the applicants were like. Yes, well, you see, dear, I've done a lot of fortune telling in my time. Yeah, 5 shillings to one hand or 7 and 6 to two. Yeah, well, I was right about Mrs. Theophilus, wasn't I? Of course I was. I said to her, I said, "You're number 7. Anything with a 7 in it," I said. And then she had that nasty fall. On the 7th? No, 7 days after I told her. We search about the ruins for a hole in the floor. We find one about the size of a large cocoa tin. But there's no fortune teller there. Hasn't been one for 1,500 years. Well, what shall we ask the oracle? Oh, I don't know. What about river mankind? Job to answer that one. We look out over the valley of Delphi, the arid hot mountains, the great dark green slabs of olive trees. In the distance, someone is playing a pipe. Up there, in the hot blue sky, a golden eagle drifts and swoops. Look, let's ask ourselves a question. Supposing we were 4 carrier pigeons just let out of our basket, and we could please ourselves where we flew, where would you fly? Well, I don't know. Providing I could get past that eagle, I'd fly home. Yes, so would I. Ah, so would I. Yes, and so would I.
That was a condensed version of Johnny Morris's recorded account of his journey to Delphi.